What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I am talking about what I think is one of the best decks in the wild format and some pointers on how to play it because it is a very challenging deck. This hit rank 1 legend in China, and Puchacz, I don't know if you're familiar with Puchacz, he has been playing it a lot and raving about the deck. And it is very difficult to play, but it is very, very powerful and it's very, very fun. So if those are things that interest you, you might like this video. So, check the description for the timestamps of when you can find like game examples. Right now, we're going to get into the card choices, but I want to tell you why I think this is a deck you should try, especially if you have the cards. Puchacz, this guy is my favorite wild player. All right. He has like shown me so many different deck lists that are like really off meta, but are incredibly strong, and they either end up getting nerfed or, blowing up the meta in wild in some way. So like he had like different like versions of these OTK Druid, so many different deck lists, Demon Hunter, just a ton of really good deck. And this guy's hit rank 1 legend on wild often. He is a great, great player. So I think it's only right that I showcase a deck that is just really cool. Also, if you want to see top legend player play it, you can visit his YouTube channel. That'll also be in the description. But let's just get into this deck real quick. It hit rank 1 legend China. The deck revolves around this engine, okay? Really, the most optimal ideal world is Travel Master Dungar pulling Malygos, Isiel Windsinger, and ANR. Because when you can imagine something like this, Dungar at 9 or 10, you pull those cards, you refresh your mana with ANR, all your spells cost 1, Isiel draws a bunch of cards, Malygos costs a bunch of cards, all for 1. That's GG, right? Because Malygos, you can do a ton of damage, right? So that is an ideal world. But the reality of Hearthstone is often that you won't draw Travel Master Dungar until you've drawn Malygos and Isiel, or, maybe when you play Dungar, you end up flipping Renathal and 2 other creatures. Now, you need to know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets for Dungar. So you need to be mindful of the combination that you can get. You can get Renathal, Aviana, Mali. You can get Renathal, Aviana, Isiel, Renathal, Aviana, ANR, Isiel, Mali, whatever, right? There's all these little different combinations that you can get. Be cognizant and aware of what they are so you know what to do. And this is why having a deck tracker really helps, because you can keep an eye on what is in your deck. Now, the question is, in Wild, and I know you're asking the same thing as Ken, in Wild, how can we get 9 mana to even play this card, right? There's Shadow Priest, there's Pirate Demon Hunter. The decks are just too fast. Anyway, you're right, okay? This format is very, very fast. And if you see the deck, there's really not a lot of removal, but we'll talk a bit about like what is important here. So we're going to go through each card right now, and I'll show you how we can get to the end. First of all, we'll briefly talk about the mulligan. If you want a better mulligan guide, I would suggest you watch Puchacz's video. For me, I'm just going to talk about the simple, like every matchup, what you can do, the general matchup, right? So the idea is the early game should be ramp. The middle game should be survival or tutoring for a specific hand so that your combo works out. And your end game should be playing the combo and winning. Against aggressive deck, winning means playing ANR and either refilling your health or, playing a huge ass board and just stabilizing. Against slower decks, winning means playing Malygos into a big combo, right? Like into killing them. So keep that in mind as you approach every matchup, right? So let's go through each card. Aquatic Form, this is a great tutor. I typically use this after turn 4 or later, unless I've missed on turn 2. Like if I'm looking for Invigorate, remember I want ramp, right? So maybe I'll play this on 2 to see if I get some type of ramp, okay? Maybe. But usually I play it after turn 4. Innovate, you never use this early in the game. You won't keep this in the opening hand. Primarily, I rarely use this to accelerate a turn. What I mean by that is, if it's turn 8, I rarely will play this into a 9 mana card unless it means surviving. For instance, ANR, like I would play this against aggro if I'm almost dead to restore my health if I needed to, all right? But usually I would use this for after the combo turn, like as part of the combo. Lightning Boom, the same way. You never keep this card. This is a combo card. We'll talk about its use a little bit later, but it's a combo card. Biology Project, same thing, combo card. Don't keep. Funnel Cake, same thing, combo card. Don't keep. Mafian's Gift, this can be damage if you need it, and it can be wild growth. Usually I use it for wild growth. There have been a couple times I do use it in conjunction with something like Moonlit Guidance, and then in which case I get like double up on Swipe or double up on wild growth or whatever. Moonbeam, obviously this is for Malygos. Malygos gives +5 spell damage, so this means 1 mana for 12 damage. If you have Solar Eclipse, you're doing 24, right? Invigorate, you always keep this, primarily used for wild growth, empty mana crystal, but I have used it for draw, even though I don't think that was necessary. Moonlit Guidance, just a good way to double up some cards in your deck, especially where you're looking for a combo, or even just a tutor for something. It's just a good, really versatile card. Solar Eclipse, typically you'll use it for Malygos combo turns, right? To do like double Ultimate Infestation or double Moonbeam. However, I have used it a couple times for like double Wild Growth or double Nourish or something, or double Trail Mix. Trail Mix, this is also to help your combo turn. Just be mindful of when you play this. I played this against a Demon Hunter, a questline Demon Hunter, and he played a Glide on me, and I was fortunate enough to still win, but that was a messy turn. Pendant of Earth, this is how you survive against aggro. I would keep this in most aggressive matchups. Basically, outside of Reno, everything in here costs 9 or 10 mana. So, you're healing for a relevant amount of mana. And this, consider early games, your opponents are doing about 9 or 10 damage, like turns 4 or 5. So, if you play Pendant of Earth, yes, you haven't affected the board state, but you've kind of time walked. You've reversed one turn, and that can be very effective, especially if you just need to buy time to find Dungar or find Aviana or whatever it may be. So good card. Renathal, we need him. Obviously, it's 40 card deck. Swipes, damage. Against aggro, be liberal. If there's a big threat like the 3/4 pirate, go ahead and remove them. Overgrowth, this is another mana ramp. You keep this in your opening hand. Nourish, depending, I would probably keep one in my opening hand if I had the coin. Guff, I think I always keep them in the hand. It's just the effect is too strong. Overflow, you need this in the combo, and we'll talk about the combo slowly. But remember, Overgrowth 5, restore 5 health, draw 5 cards. At 7, it's okay, Overflow, but at 1, it's great. So keep in mind, playing this for 1 mana is awesome, right? Sleep Under the Stars, same thing. At 7 mana, it's a good card. But at 1 mana, this is crazy. Because at 1 mana, you can get up to 8 mana back. All right? And I want you to keep that. Like, you can drop the 6 cards. You can get up to 8 mana for 1 mana. Right? Keep that in mind. Right? Nightshade Bud. Usually I use this to draw creatures. So this is a good way to tutor out a creature. I've never used this to summon or to cast a spell. I don't know if Puchacz does that, but I have never been in that situation. The way I use this is this. If I don't have it costing 1, then typically I use this, like if I have Dungar in hand, I'll use this to get me Prince Renathal so that my Dungar doesn't hit him, all right? Or if I have like a lot of spells or mana refresh and I have enough mana, I might cast this and then bring me ECL and then refresh my mana and then do just like a crazy amount of stuff with spells. So there's a bunch of different lines of play. You just got to see what they are. Aviana, obviously if you have a ton of mana and you play this out and your other things cost 1, this is great. So like 10 mana, Aviana into ANR is crazy because you can play Aviana, ANR, refresh all your mana, play other creatures if you have them cheap. Especially if you get UCL, then things just get wild. So, decent card. Malygos, obviously the spell damage. Dungar, obviously the combo. And UCL. So UCL, all your spells cost 1. And this is where all these other cards become nuts, all right? Sleep Under the Stars for 1. Overflow for 1. Ultimate Infestation for 1. Nourish for 1. Like, these things are broken, okay? And this is where these cards come into play. So an ideal, like if you have ECL, keep in mind that Innervate will cost 1 and the coin will cost 1, right? So those are mana, they're net 0. You don't get a benefit off of those. So you would want to use those before, like on the turn that you're playing ECL, you'd want to use the coin and Innervate before playing ECL, okay? But Lightning Bloom, this is net positive. It's 1 mana. Biology Project, it's net positive. 2 mana. Funnel Cake, it's net positive. If there's creatures, it'll be 2 mana. So, and obviously Sleep Under Stars is very net positive. It's anywhere from 2 extra mana crystals to 8 mana crystals. So really, like, UCL, this is like the real engine, in my opinion. This is like the biggest part of the combo, and it's where a lot of starts popping off. ANR, this is your anti-aggro tool, and obviously if you get this, you can refresh your mana. Like, playing 20 mana in a turn is crazy, so keep that in mind. And remember, you're going to be playing more than 20 mana if you've hit UCL. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff. And at the top end, we have Ultimate Infestation. This is just, like, in my opinion, one of the best Druid cards ever made. I love this card. When I hit top 25, or I hit top 4, and then when I hit top 25, finished at top 25, this was the card that like carried me through there. So, a lot of good times. Let's get into some gameplay examples so you can see how the deck works. All right, so here we go into some gameplay. This is a game against Questline DH. In my previous turn, I've overloaded my mana. I've used double Trail Mix, so I'm going to have 12 mana next turn. And my opponent knows this. And what he wisely does here is looks to kill my hand. So he plays Glide, and he destroys my hand. So this puts only 4 cards in my hand, and typically this would be backbreaking, right? So I have to find an out. So my out is I'll play Solar Flare into Stars, Sleep Under the Stars, to draw a bunch of cards, and then refresh my mana, right? Because now I'm going to have 6 options of what to do here, right? So I make sure I refill my hand, get as many options as I can, refill my my health as much as I can, and then just get more mana. So I played Biology Project. Now they have 9. Play Nightshade Bud to get one of my big guys. I get ANR, and now I'm just going ANR, refresh mana, throw Ultimate Infestation to the face, and hopefully that's enough to stabilize the board, right? So my opponent, the problem with Questline DH, it doesn't deal with really wide tempo scamming boards, right? So he's finding ways to stay in the game. And honestly, this is a pretty good play, like, by my opponent. Like, he really, like, pulled out a ton of stops here at the end of his deck, right? But unfortunately, this is too little too late. He's sitting at, 25 health? So I know if I can get to Malygos, I can win the game because I have enough tools here, right? So I'm going to play the Nightshade Bud to get my Malygos cheaper, and then hopefully I have enough damage to kill him, right? Which I do. He's at 25, so I know I got 24 damage off of a Solar, whatever that thing is, right? So, and that's 24 damage. So I should have lost that game, but it was pretty lucky line of play. All right, in this game, it's a Druid mirror, but he's not playing this. I look for ramp, I don't find ramp. So this is a bad hand. These are all late game cards. So, I'm just trying to stay alive. Turn 3, I have a potential wild growth. So if I have nothing better in hand, that's what my turn 3 will be. It'll be ramp, right? So there, I have the chance for wild growth, Pendant of Earth. It's a nice discover mechanic, but I don't really need it yet. So next turn, I know I'm going to have 5 mana. I'm pretty good on my resources, so let me look for Dungar now. I play Solar Eclipse into this to give me 2 shots at Dungar. Now I have Dungar. Now I know that when I flip, I have a good chance of getting, the ideal opening in terms of creatures on the board. So I have 2 Trail Mixes in hand. That means next turn I'll have an additional 4 mana. So I just use them both. And here you'll see like just really how crazy, how out of control this deck can get. So next turn I will have, 9 mana? Sorry. Yeah, there you go, 11 mana. So I have so many options here. I could have played Nightshade Bud for ANR, but instead, let's just go crazy. Let's just throw spells at the face. We have a Mally. So draw me more cards. Give me my mana back. Let me take swipe. Now my swipes are, look at that. Like, this is just, that is absurd. Oh, God. 4 swipes, yo. Crazy. All right, here in this next game, I want to show you that sometimes you win not by killing them, but by just having something better. And here, I'm at 5 life. The opponent's played really well up to this point. I played Dungar. I get this combo. I have all the big boys on board. Now I just need more mana to do more stuff. So I draw a bunch of cards looking for more mana. I cast some big spells. I see a Nourish. I see a Biology Project. So a Biology Project gives me a little more mana. I'm going to play Solar Flare into a Nourish so I can get even more mana. So our Solar Eclipse into Nourish. Now I got 4 more mana. And now I'm just looking for damage. There's a swipe. There's nothing more I can do here. Draw a card for whatever purpose. Like at this point, I actually don't have any OTK damage. But I've cleared my opponent's biggest board post his big spell damage turn. So he really has nothing. He doesn't have a way to deal with this board. And I'm looking at lethal next turn. So this is how you can win the game. You don't have to OTK them all the time. You just need to be winning. And here, we're totally winning. My opponent just quits because he just doesn't have enough to deal with this. So that is the deck in a nutshell. It is very fun. It's difficult to pilot. Like, you're going to lose some games. You really need a lot of experience playing it. But I do hope you give this a try and enjoy it. I know that this content is not typical of what I post here. I don't really post a lot of wild content. But I did want to do that this time around. I thought it was an interesting deck. Visit Puchacz YouTube. He's a very, very good player. And he makes great, interesting decks. This is no different. It's very fun. But in my next few videos, we're going to get back onto track with the next expansion. So next week, we'll do deck lists that you can play for the Tavern Brawl for 1 week. And then after that, I'll give you my recommendations for decks to try when the expansion releases in its entirety in its complete format. So enjoy yourself, have fun. If you are able to craft this deck, give it a try. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you next time.